That's where we live. North America, the United States of America. So, our viewers, maybe you guys are right. Exactly. You
All
guys may
around
be
the
living in.
world.
Yeah, our viewers are probably coming from all four corners of the world. And you must be wondering how much an average citizen of the United States makes, right? Well, it depends on so many factors, and we're going to talk about it today, right?
Right. Yeah. So, like you, it's very controversial topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. That's why we want to talk about it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
exactly for that, we just wanted to be open. Like we have been
Right.
here for several years. I've been in US, migrated several years ago, and you moved several years ago. Worked in different industries, like you said, and everybody pays differently, and not everybody makes tons of money here in the
Right.
US. There are poor people, a lot of poor people, and it starts like every state has a minimum wage like $7.50 per hour. That's kind of a minimum wage, and it's going up. Some states like $15 minimum, right? They shouldn't. Nobody should pay less than that.
Right.
No company should pay less than that, even for low wage laborers.
Right. And when you say $7 per hour, there are countries that even their monthly income is equivalent to $7 per hour, right? But and you must be wondering, oh my God, the people who get paid $7 an hour must be really, really, really rich. Well, that's not correct because, like I said, it's because the cost of living matters too, right? If you're getting paid $7.50 an hour, if you're living in the heart of capital of the United States, you're not going to get anywhere. But it's probably enough for like mere survival, but you're not rich or not even middle class or even lower middle class. It's really hard with a $7.50 per hour.
Right. And if you are in a, like, if you want to go above that, right? If you are in like a cashier, as a cashier or something like that, maybe starts with $10 per hour.
Mhm.
So if you talk about Walmart, their cashiers and stuff like that, people like that, and they might be getting $10 to $20 per hour anywhere. And sometimes the Costco and other bigger, companies, they pay minimum $25 per hour. Starts
And
with.
probably certain employees get paid a little more than the others depending on the shift that they work too, right? Because I
Exactly.
remember I
Right.
worked for a night shift for a money transfer company, and you get $2 to $3 or sometimes even $3 to $5 extra for giving your time you know like, putting yourself working in the night like that because that's like the graveyard shift, right? 10
Right.
o'clock is probably the graveyard because you're supposed to sleep around that time. So because you're putting so much hours during the graveyard hours, you get paid a little more than that. So that's why certain employees, sales associates, get paid a little more than the regular.
Right. And if you wonder about flight attendants, right? They don't make too much. They make around $50,000 a year, 60,000 a year. It varies, like, again, like if you're staying there longer, maybe 80,000, 90,000 maximum, right? And if you're wondering about pilots, they don't make they probably make around 100 to 150,000, that range, per year, and in US dollar, right?
And probably so we're only talking about the basic salary, right? But
Right, right.
of
There
course
are
they have
more
perks.
into it, and based on, like, if they work there for 50 years, 30 years. I know somebody working in same place for 40 years. So yeah, they would get more, definitely.
And also the incentives if you're a pilot, if you're a flight attendant, because it's very tiring, right? You're going to be
Exactly.
in the air for good part of the day, even it goes beyond a day or probably 2 days, and you get perks to compensate for the time and effort that you're putting in. So your gross salary and plus you get incentives, but we are only talking about the general.
Right, just the salary range, like if you're wondering about, and if you're wondering about tech jobs, right, like IT jobs,
Yeah.
they do make more. The minimum, probably minimum wage is around 70, 80,000 a year,
Right.
for those guys, and it goes all the way to maybe 500,000 a year.
Yeah, because I know that I'm not in technology, but you were and you probably are still, depending on how you categorize it. You have certain levels, right? Analyst one, two, three,
Right, exactly.
five.
Yes.
So if you're starting like as an analyst one around the 75 range, then once you hit that analytical consultant one or five, then you would be able to hit the six-figure plus salary scale.
Right, exactly. Like, yeah, again, like if it based on we are talking about the average salary, maybe in the beginning, once you join, and based on your level of expertise and your contribution, your seniority, your like how long you're in in that place, all those things takes into account, right? And also there are other factors. If you're a manager, you get probably 20% more than your coworkers reporting to you. So it's a average. We are talking about just a ballpark, right? It's not really like
Yeah.
exactly set in stone or anything like that.
There were a few times that I applied for law enforcement, right? And we have utmost respect for our law enforcement colleagues, but as the general understanding is like they're not fairly compensated. That's again, we're
Yeah.
talking about a very very controversial
Now
topic.
$50,000 a year, something like
Yeah,
that, 40,000.
actually, because I applied for a particular law enforcement agency about only 2 years ago, when I wanted to take a break from my regular work. The starting salary for that law enforcement was $42,000, and that's only like 2 years ago,
Right.
right? Of course, 42 plus you have the incentives, but we are talking about the gross, and we are talking about the gross. We're not even talking about the net.
Right.
So so imagine, I mean, they're putting their lives in line, but that's what they get paid.
And
Um,
average US salary is around 55,000
right,
household salary, right? Around
right around the 50. Yeah,
55,000 a year, the household salary for the entire, if you combine. And
yeah,
only like 10% of them out of 350 million, 340, 350 million population, only 10% of them actually makes more than, I think, 10 to 15% make six figures.
yeah. And again, I just wanted to squeeze this part in real quick. But if you have roof on top of your head, if you have food on your table, and you're about you should be you should be happy, because there are so many people that they don't have the basic needs. So just wanted to squeeze that one right in when we say, it's not enough or it's only this much and all that, but we should be grateful for what we have, because if you compare the 50,000, someone who earns 50 grand per year with someone who earns only $7 per month in some parts of the world, even in the United States. You should be grateful for what you have. So
Yeah, that's a great point about life, right?
yeah,
Life or death. Like you die and then everything gone. Even you make $1 million a day, right? It
right,
doesn't matter.
yeah.
Another thing, like for people like who put a poster just standing on
On the sideways, like on
the
the side of the
signboard,
road. Yeah.
and they actually make around $100 a day, something
Okay.
like that. It's based on the news I read about it, $100 to $200 a day, because everybody hand out like dollar, $2. Think about 100,000 cars goes by, right?
Right.
They stand there 8 hours. They do get some around $100 a day cash. That's just like extreme situation that you don't have any help or you're homeless.
Right.
That's a thing. And other than that, like for nannies, like babysitters, right, who can come to your house, the minimum they ask for $20 per hour. And sometimes you can work around like $15, something like that, but $20 is like kind of starting, and it can go up to 30, 15 to $30 per hour is what they get paid nanny. And doctors and all, it varies, but it starts around 200,000 plus when they start, 200,000 or plus. But if they're a surgeon, they
Mm.
would get, if they're doing surgeries and stuff, like they would get
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point, because I also know for a fact. I'm around the Northern Virginia area, which is closer to the DC, and I've seen. I'll be very careful when I say this, without revealing any confidential information. Um, Dentists, I never thought that they would be able to make that kind of money. But again, keeping the confidentiality intact, I would definitely agree with you. Like even like you said about 200 grand, right? Even dentists actually can overpass that amount. Surprising for some parts in the world, like you're a doctor, surgeon, and dentist. Still respectable and everything, but they probably earn a little less than a regular doctor, physician, or a surgeon. But it depends. Again, the area and the specific things that they do. When it comes to dentistry, you have certain things. I like on top of my head, I cannot think of, but there are certain things that they can do in addition to the regular dental work, right? And that adds and that builds on the that adds up to your bill, and you can really make a good fortune out of it. But again, we really appreciate what they do, keeping ourselves healthy, and they deserve it. There's nothing wrong making money in a good way, legal way, and if you can do it right, and you richly deserve that.
Right. Some of the YouTubers, if you in US, right, they get several thousand views. They get more CPM, right? Cost per million.
Right.
And so because of that, they get paid a lot in US views, right? People viewing from US, and they anything average, the high end YouTubers, I would say, like around 150,000 a month, and all the way to million a month.
Yeah.
So it just it goes like that, 100,000 to million a month. It's like high end, right? Maybe a mid level, probably around 20 to 100, 20,000 to 100,000. Small YouTubers, it's less than $10,000 a month. Small YouTubers who got like 100,000 subscriber, 50 to 100,000 or above, little above in that range, right? They would make around $10,000 a month. Based on the niche also, like if they're in the finance, they would make more. If they're in the cooking and vlogging, they would make less. But if they're in auto, makeup, they would make in the middle, somewhere in the middle.
Right.
That's how it works.
That's a great categorization. So the income a regular YouTuber or a good YouTuber makes depends on what topic that they choose. That's what you said, right?
Exactly. The topic at their niche, like what their content they talk about. Most of them are talk about like the high end ones. They talk about either game. They do a game channels like game or auto related stuff, or the finance, personal finance, investment. Right. Those are the ones that
Really
they get
generates
a lot of viewers. And the ads, people, because of the ad revenue, people pay a lot of money for those kind of ads. The finance related ads, compared to vlogging. Like if you're vlogging or cooking channel, it's not much high value ads would be there, so you won't get that much.
You will still earn a good chunk of money, but it's not as big as someone who does finances and
Right.
games related channels.
Right.
And just wanted to add something real quick, because I worked at not a restaurant, but how do I say, a franchise store. Right, I was paid the minimum wage, a state in the East Coast, $6.50 per hour, and I did that for about 1 month. So that's a franchise store. We talk about, there are so many franchises, right? McDonald's, Subway, Burger King, and so imagine that was, I'm talking about 13 years ago though.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
13 years ago, $6 and a half in the East Coast for just doing the making sandwiches or burgers, $6.50. Probably it's still the same, or maybe a little more than that, maybe seven and a half, or even 10. But yeah, it's good enough for a survival for a single person or just for a couple. Probably going to be a little tighter if you have a family, but it is what it is.
Right. Speaking of
Invest in yourself. when you're doing something like that, invest in your time, like, read, learn something, and get yourself, make sure that you get to a place where you can market yourself. So that, just want to add that real quick.
All right. Yeah. Because I just remembered something in speaking of restaurant. Like if you, the people who are in the beach restaurants, right?
Hmm.
People who are working in the beach restaurant, they actually make, during the summertime, they make around $1,000 a day from tips itself, because
Oh,
there's
okay.
so many people coming to the restaurant right on the beaches. Some of the beaches that out there, East Coast or Florida or the West Coast. Those
That's
are the
that's a good point, because we didn't talk about the tip part, right?
right.
Because most of the franchise stores, what happens is, like, you don't get tips, but a restaurant is different, like you said, right? And especially if your restaurant is located on the beach, right by the beach, then it's a whole different story.
But it's more seasonal though, like
Yeah,
only for
that's seasonal.
3 months or so, 4 months, something like that. But all the college students, they go, like, instead of going to internship,
Hmm.
not everybody, like almost 50% of them, they actually go and work there. So you would get $500 to $1,000 tip a day, but you don't have to give something to the owner. But it's a good income for the college students.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And
And although it's good, for during the season, summer times and all that. Imagine if you're working in restaurant industry, this like a situation like this, like we are in a kind of a pandemic situation. Not kind of, it is a pandemic situation where you have to keep the social distancing, make sure that you're distancing yourself from the other people, and restaurants are being closed. People are losing jobs, because there's I think they're categorized as non-essential, right? Non-essential
right, right.
thing. You can make your breakfast, lunch, and dinner at home, so you don't necessarily have to go to restaurants, and especially during a pandemic. So it's unfortunate, but on a regular time period, on a regular day, regular season, that it is what it is for in the restaurant business.
Right.
And you can make a good living based on the tips too.
Right. For students, like if you are thinking about a graduate students coming here with an assistantship, right? How much they would be making? It's around 1,500 a month, 1,500 to $2,000 a month, approximately, and then the tuition get paid, right?
Right.
Tuition gets paid. This is like a assistantship you get
Hmm.
as a graduate student,
Right.
and you would be sharing rooms with other students. Basically, you might be paying $300-$400 rent for the
Correct.
shared room
Yeah.
accommodation per month, and then rest of them, like you would have around $1,500, $1,500 a month left over, and you won't pay too much tax because you're low income. So because of that, you should be able to afford a used car, and just
Mhm.
you could able to go around and
Yeah.
until you finish your graduate studies.
Right, right, right. I think we covered kind of this is just to give some general idea, right?
Right.
Because of the different perspectives that we have, and if you were living in the other side of the world.
I do want to sum up this one, like, overall, if you look at it, 70% of the US population, they make around $60,000 or less, right?
Correct.
Most of them, out of that, most of them makes around 30 to $40,000, most of them, right, per year. But the expenses is around like average expenses, if you take it, around maybe $50,000 average household expenses. So they, whatever they're making, they just spend everything.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. And the rest of them, the 30% of them, out of the 30%, the 10% will be making around close to six figure, like 100,000.
Right.
But their expense, they could able to save some, and the rest of them makes about 100,000 millions, and
That's
5%.
why. So based on those numbers and statistics, that's why we encourage you guys for investing, right? Most of our episodes are dedicated for investing. While you earn, even if you earn $6.50, at least try to save $1, and if possible, invest some part of whatever you, because common excuse is, oh, my expenses are more than my income. No, you can always plan. When you get your paycheck, try to save first, and then do your expenses. right? I think we are running out of time, but
Yeah.
again, you have anything to add, Venkat?
Oh no, just that's it. Like yeah, like there is a need and want. So just
Yeah.
I think we talked about that before. Just assess that based on that. But basically, the U.S. is not about all the rich people here. It's only like 5%, 5 to 10% are rich, very rich. But rest of them are all like in a more average. And but if you right now you know which job is pays a lot, and based on that you guys can able to try to get the job.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
Stay tuned, guys. Until next time.